next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in, like we found here, a DrawHudElements, except we're going to override it for the Jeeps client-side class. Now, we want to be sure that we get the public, private, we need to get the protection levels correct. So, we'll go to the declaration, and we'll find it right there, and we'll see that it needs to be public. So, in this little public block, we'll add in void DrawHudElements. We see it takes no arguments. Now that it's declared, we'll go into the implementation file and we'll implement it. There. So now we have this function. We need to fill it with some code to draw our actual HUD element. Now, if we look back at the cprop vehicle, we're not going to find what we want. All that does is replace a static icon with some other static icon. What we want is a dynamic meter, much like the ammo or health bars that surround the normal crosshair. To find where this HUD is defined in the source code, though, could be a quite difficult matter. We don't know exactly what the class name is, so we're going to have to search for it. We could type in something like HUD or ammo or health, but that would return a bunch of different results. Now, if we had time to sort through those, this approach would be just fine. However, for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to skip that and cut right to the actual file we want. Hit Find File and do a search for Quick Info. This is the name of the HUD we want. Open up hudquickinfo.cpp, and scrolling down you'll find the definition for the Quick Info HUD. Now, the function we want is the paint function. This is the drawing equivalent function for HUD elements. Scrolling down, we see it checks the health warning, emits sounds, other sounds. We should probably remember these colors. These look like they'll come in handy. This will allow us to integrate our color scheme with the existing HUD elements. And finally, down here, we find the function we've been looking for. This will draw the progress bar given, if we mouse over, 2 integers for the position, 2 icons for the full and empty state of the icon, the percentage complete, the color, and the type of icon. So let's copy this and bring it over into our DrawHudElements function. We don't want to change the type of HUD, but we do want to change the color because health color isn't currently defined. So let's go straight to GHUD.mCLR normal. For the percentage, we will leave the 1 minus in place and replace this with mFEL fuel. Next up, these 2 icons, if we go back into the HUD Quick Info, we don't actually know what they are, so let's check the definition. We see they're pointers to HUD textures. Now, we don't know what they're pointing to, which is what we really care about, so we're going to go find all references, and if we look through this, we'll see that this looks like an assignment, and we find that miconLB is equal to the icon crosshair left full, and the other one, LBE, is crosshair left empty. So let's copy this. We'll get the actual icon we want, and instead of using these pointers, for now, we can just paste directly in the icons that we want. Again, for empty, paste it in, and here we're just going to change this to empty. Now, for the position, we don't have X center defined, so just arbitrarily, let's choose 200 by 200. This should be a good position. Once we've confirmed that this function works and does what we want it to, we can go back. We can add member variables to cprop_jeep to keep track of these icons, and we can move around where it's supposed to appear on screen. But for now, we just want to be sure that it works. So, we'll build the solution, and load up our trusty test map. Hop in the vehicle, and right up in the upper left, we see a meter. And by holding J, we can make it decrease. And letting go, it increases right back up. So, now that we know this function does what we want it to do, let's clean it up a little bit. The first thing we want to do is add in a variable to store these icons instead of calling getIcon every frame. This will not only make it slightly faster, but it will also make it more readable and changeable because we will have the assignment for those variables in one centralized place along with all of the other assignments for this class. Let's start by adding in our new variables. Now if we look at the getIcon function, we'll see that it returns a CHUD texture pointer. So that's the type our variables will have to be. The first one we're going to call m_p for pointer, icon full. The second one we're going to call m_p icon empty. We'll save those, and we'll go back here, and we'll see we don't need to add them to any sort of data description, but we do need to initialize them. The best place to do that will be in their constructor. So, say mp icon full is equal to the getIcon command with crosshair left full, and mp icon empty will be equal to this. Now, all we have to do is put these variables back where those calls were. There, looks much better. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the position. Now that place over in the upper left, I don't think we really want it to be there. And what's more, that position might change based on the resolution of the screen. These distances are based on pixels, and if there were only 800 by 600 pixels instead of 1024 by 768, that ratio would be slightly off. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to calculate the position on the screen based on some ratio values. Now, even assuming we have no idea how to do this, again, we have a handy example. If we look back in the Quick Info class, and we go to the paint function, we'll scroll down, and we'll see that in our original DrawIcon progress bar function, there is an X center minus the width of the icon times 2. Let's take a look at what X center is, and we see we've got this function right here for finding out what the total width of the screen is. Once we know this, we can parameterize it into a percentage and say we always want our icon to appear some percentage away from the side of the screen. So, armed with these new functions, let's go back to our drawing function, and we'll define some new variables that we can do our calculations with. So, let's say we want our icon to appear somewhere around here on the screen. Remember that for the GUI, the screen coordinates are such that this corner is 0, 0, and this corner is the maximum screen width and the maximum screen height. So, for this, we want a very small height and a very large width. Also remember that these coordinates represent the upper left corner of the icon as well. So, we're going to have to take into account some kind of offset for the width of our icon. For example, if we wanted it to be this far away, but it was, say, this wide, we would have to subtract that width so that it would start over here and the end would be right there, giving us the amount of room that we want. So, let's start with the x-coordinate. Icon x will be equal to the screen width minus, be sure to put this in parentheses, the screen width times 0.3, so that we're 30% away from the right-hand side of the screen. And from this, we will again subtract the size of our icon. Along the x-axis. So we'll save that. And the icon's y-coordinate should be a bit simpler. We don't actually want to have the full screen height, so instead we'll simply say screen height times 0.1. So it'll be about 1/10 of the way down the screen. And we'll replace these magic number constants with our new variables. Save. Build. Oh, pardon my semicolon. And run. Fire up our map. And there we have our icon, roughly 10% down and 30% over, just like we wanted.